Hey everybody, I'm back. So I had a friend who asked me to read a chapter a day from a book, except I don't know that copyright laws would appreciate that very much. So what I'm going to do is read a first chapter, maybe every other day, so you can learn about some new books, and that would be pretty cool. The first book I'm reading is The Whisperers by Greg Howard. This book, actually, my daughter wanted me to pick up, so we'll see what this looks like. I gotta put on my readers, because can't see without them. So, The Whisperers. Hope is being able to see that there is a light despite all of the darkness. Desmond Tutu. That dude was pretty smart. There once was a boy who heard the whispers. He heard them late in the day as lazy sun dipped below the treetops and the woods behind his house came alive with the magic of twilight. The voices came to him so gently, he thought it might be the wind or the first trickle of summer rain. But as time passed, the voices grew louder, and the boy was sure they were calling his name, so he followed them. The whispers led the boy to a clearing deep in the woods where a rotted old tree stump sat in the center of fallen leaves covered the ground like crunchy brown carpet. The boy stood next to the stump, waited, and listened. He couldn't see the whispers, but he knew that they were there. Their wispy voices surrounded him, tickling the rims of his ears and filling every darkened shadow of the forest. After waiting patiently for quite some time, the whispers' garbled words finally began to make some sense to the boy, and they told him things. The whispers knew everything, all the secrets to the universe. They told the boy what color the moon was up close and how many miles of ocean cover the earth. They even told him how long he would live, 26,332 days. The boy was pleased because that sounded like a good long time to him. But as they continued to whisper knowledge into his ear, they never showed themselves to the boy. He only caught glimpses from the corner of his eye of their faint bluish glow fading in and out around him. He so badly wanted to see them, to know what kind of creatures they were. How big were they, or how tiny? Were they fat or thin or hairy? Were they made of skin and bones like him, or of tree bark, or leaves, or dirt, or something else entirely? The whispers told the boy that if he brought them tributes, they would give him his heart's desires. The boy wasn't sure what tribute was, and he didn't want very much anyway. He could hardly call them his heart's desires. Maybe a new pair of sneakers so the other kids at school wouldn't tease him about his raggedy old ones. Maybe a better job for his father so he wouldn't have to worry so much about money. And he would love to see his mother smile again, something she rarely did anymore. But he guessed what he really wanted was to see the whispers with his very own eyes. One day, as the boy's mother made a batch of her special blackberry jam, he asked her what a tribute was, and she thought about it for a moment and finally told him that a tribute was like a gift to show respect. The boy eyed his mother's handiwork spread over the kitchen table. Everyone loved her jam, so when she took it to the local farmer's market, she always sold out, and her blackberry jam was his personal favorite. He was sure it would make an excellent tribute for the whispers. When his mother left the room, the boy took one of the jars from the table and hid it under his bed. The following afternoon, as the sun was setting, he went back to the clearing of the woods with the jam tucked under his arm. He left it sitting on the rotted old tree stump for the whispers. Satisfied with his tribute, the boy spoke his heart's desires aloud, and then he hurried home as to not scare the whispers away. When the boy's father got home from work that evening, his mood was lighter than usual, and the lines of worry had completely vanished from his face. He told the family that he'd received a promotion at work, and tomorrow the boy's mother should take him shopping and buy him some new clothes and shoes for school. This news made his mother smile. The boy was amazed that he'd received 3 of his heart's desires with only 1 jar of jam. Surely the whispers would reveal themselves to him if he took a tribute even better than a jar of his mother's blackberry jam. And he knew just the thing. The next day, when the boy returned from shopping with his mother, he snuck out of the house right before sunset, and he took his new sneakers to the clearing in the woods. He kept them in the box, neatly wrapped in tissue paper so they wouldn't get scuffed or dirty. They were the nicest shoes he'd ever owned, and surely this tribute would persuade the Whispers to show themselves. When he approached the old rotted tree stump, he saw the blackberry jam was gone. The boy wasn't surprised. He was sure the Whispers enjoyed his mother's jam as much as everyone else did. He put the box of sneakers on the top of the rotten old tree stump, stood back, and waited, and waited, and waited. He waited so long he wasn't sure the Whispers were pleased enough with his tribute. Finally, something tickled the back of his neck, with the lightest flutter of breath grazing his skin. It spoke his name and asked him what he wished. The boy froze. The Whisper had never come this close before. They must be pleased with his tribute after all. He was excited but afraid if he moved, he would scare them away. So he closed his eyes and he remained perfectly still. "I wish to see you," said the boy in barely a whisper of his own. "I want to know what you look like. It is my heart's desire." At first, there was no clear answer, only a garble of whispers, conversation that he couldn't understand. And then the words slowly pieced themselves together like a puzzle in his ear. "If we reveal ourselves, you can never leave us," the Whispers said, their velvety voices caressing his ear through the warm summer breeze. "You must stay here in the woods with us forever, and you will know everything, and that is a burden too great to bear in your world." The boy swallowed hard. He closed his eyes even tighter and stood very still as sweat trailed down his neck, the Whisper's words chilling him from head to toe. "Are you sure that this is your wish?" the Whispers asked. "To see us, to stay with us, to become a whisper in the wind?" The boy began to worry. He thought about the things he would miss if he strayed in the woods with the Whispers forever. He would never get to ride his bike again or go swimming in the pond with his friends, and he would never see his mother and father again. It seemed like an awfully high price to pay just to see the Whispers and what they looked like. Besides, he'd already offered them his brand new sneakers, and they were the nicest things he owned. Wasn't that enough? "No," whispered the Whispers, reading his thoughts. "It's not enough. If you see us, you must become one of us. And then you will know everything there is to know. You will hear everything, see everything. But the only tribute we can accept is your soul." The boy stood there with his eyes closed tight, scared he might accidentally see one of the Whispers, and then the choice would be made for him. He needed a moment to think. The boy wondered what else there was to know. Because of the Whispers, he knew the color of the moon up close, how many days he would live, to 26,332 days. He knew that he had a home to which he could return, and he knew his parents loved him, and his father worked hard to take care of the family, and the kids at school would tease him a little less now that he had brand new sneakers. The boy knew it would be dark soon, and if he waited too long, it might never find his way out of the woods. And then what would the Whispers do with him? He felt around until he found the box and his sneakers on the tree stump. He grabbed it, turned, and ran as fast as he could. He held the box close to his chest and didn't dare open his eyes. He tripped and fell, got back up and ran into another tree after another tree. Branches whacked him across the face and chest, but he kept running blindly through the woods. Only after he'd gone a good long ways was the tiny voice, and the tiny voices had faded behind him, did the boy dare open his eyes. Even then, he was careful to not look around. He stared straight ahead until he got to the tree line and ran the whole way home, never looking back, not even when he reached his house. After the boy never heard the Whispers again, but he didn't mind. He already had his heart's desire. He had his mother and his father and his friends and his brand new sneakers. Plus, He knew what color the moon was up close and how many miles of ocean cover the earth and how long he would live. 26,332 days. He didn't know all the secrets of the universe, and maybe he never would, but he did know plenty. This was my mama's favorite story. She told me this story every night until the day she disappeared. Then I started hearing whispers, and I followed them. The Whispers by Greg Howard. Tune in for another day.